It's your girl, Miss Keisha, with a little chat and chew for you. So, as you can see, I'm here by myself, but I'm coming packing a punch, okay? Before we get started, let me just go ahead and put my disclaimer out there, all right? For those of you that be trying to get trying to riff with me in my inbox. Um, all the statements, opinions, and stories that you hear on my show by myself or my guests, there are our opinions and our experiences that we are sharing with the world. It is not to try to sway you to think or feel how we feel, but it's to help you or maybe just help anyone if they might have been through an experience that we had. So if you don't agree, that's cool. We can have great dialogue, but we, at the end of the day, we will always agree to disagree and walk in love. How about that? So, I had to go back and listen to um, last week's show because I was going to do something a little different, right? So I'm listening to it. I'm like, yo, we was really, really, really passing out nuggets. That was a dynamic show. The information that was shared, it was dynamic. Um, and so I wanted to do something a little different. And then I was watching some of my other podcast people. This one in particular, I was watching the Bay Mosses. So you might know Charmaine Bay and her husband from Black Ink Chicago. So I follow them. They have I think it's called Marriage Mirage. And they usually talk to people who are married, coming out of marriages, going into marriages, and they just talk about the dynamics of these people' marriage. So, but in particular, they were talking to a couple where the husband has been perceived as a narcissist. Like, and yeah, all right. And so they had a therapist that came on and evaluated. She spoke to them all because towards the end, the wife came into the story, very emotional, very broken, and yeah, he just narcissism. And so the therapist talked at the end about narcissism and his behavior. And one thing that stood out to me that really triggered me to change this topic was before he knew his wife was there, before he knew the therapist was there, um, every time he would talk, he would glorify himself. And at one point, he tried to like entice Charmaine's husband to agree with her, to agree with him. And he was like, whoa, 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 you know. And his thing was not some women, it was all women. All women are emotional. All women are this. Men are logical, not that some are. He wasn't generalizing anything. He was saying that all women are this and all men are that. Basically, the way I perceived it, like men, not men, but yeah, men are superior to women, right? So long story short, needless to say, that totally had my blood pressure up, right? So I did a little digging, right? So because I don't want to talk about anything that I don't know, right? Um, and I just gotta be honest, like when you think about, like, when I was some years ago, back 9 years ago, when I was diagnosed with anxiety, right? My therapist just had to tell me, like, because nobody had never told me about anxiety. I'm just like, what the hell is that? And basically, I was functioning in that. My anxiety, I just learned to function in it. And that the hell is not healthy. So I think is I think of one downfall in our community, and this may be for other communities too, but I can only speak to the one that I cater to. I think a lot of the reason why we still deal with some of the things that we deal with is because we don't make ourselves smart on the subject, right? So that's the same thing. I mean, I wasn't smart to know. I didn't know anything about anxiety, personality disorders. I didn't know anything about that until I began therapy, and I had to be damn near pushed off the cliff before I went to therapy, so now I can immediately, recognize, if someone's dealing with anxiety or personality disorder. Now, narcissism, that was a new term to me, right? And so you hear people talk about narcissism. And I think, me personally, before I did my research, when I would think of narcissism, I would think of total control. Someone who doesn't want to take accountability and they just want to control the situation, control the people. That was it. So I did like a little survey on my social media platforms, and I got some great feedback. It wasn't that everyone was saying the same thing, kind of, sort of, but it all grouped into the same category. So before we get started, this is what we're going to do here. We are going to talk about what really is narcissism. What is narcissism? And did you not know that there are 7 types of narcissists? Yeah, I didn't know that either. Like, that's deep. I'm sorry. There are actually 9 types of narcissism. So, all right. So it says narcissist personality disorder. Point of reference, there is a difference between a disorder and a mental illness. Fact. Okay. So a personality disorder, a narcissist personality disorder, is generally characterized by a grandiose sense of self and an unwillingness to express empathy. Again, someone who thinks very highly of themselves and they don't have any empathy is their way or the highway, basically. All right. Many professionals consider NPD a spectrum disorder. I don't know how true that is. This is coming from choosingtherapy.com. Okay. And it talks some more about, the brain and the different types of narcissism. So, okay, let's jump into the different types of narcissism. So, grandiosity, I'm pretty sure you can, is evident. You just think really big of yourself. You are it. You are special. You are the shiznit, and everybody else is not on your level. Then you have entitlement. Now, when I was watching the Bays, the therapist said something, because I think Charmaine had asked, how do you become a narcissist? Like, what do you do? What do it do? And one thing that she said that stood out to me was, if you're spoiled as a kid. I was like, wow, like that was mind blowing. Because how many of us spoil our children with the notion of, I'm going to make sure my child does not live the life that I had to live. I'm going to make sure my child has better. Now, listen, let me raise my hand. But do you know we can create narcissistic children like that? It's crazy, right? Never would have thought it. So entitlement is and when it comes to NPD involves a belief that one's importance, superiority, or uniqueness should grant them special treatment. Basically, they're spoiled. Because I am who I am, you should give this to me, or you should treat me this way, or you should take me here, or you should just listen to me. Lack of empathy, preoccupation with fantasies of success. Reality does not often support a narcissistic view of themselves. They see themselves as great. And so that is how they're going to portray themselves. But when they get behind those doors with just themselves, they realize that, hey, it's really not the way that it seems. Or no, to a degree, I would assume that some narcissists, they don't realize that. They think that their stuff is hot poop. You know what I mean? Then you have excessive need for admiration. Well, arrogant behaviors. Oh no, I'm sorry. These are the what they display as a narcissist. sense of superiority, exploitation of others. All right. All right. So the grandiose narcissist, we spoke about that one. The second one is the sexual narcissist. Sexual narcissists are people who prioritize their sexual satisfaction and needs, lack empathy for their sexual partners, demonstrate an inflated sense of sexual esteem, expect frequent praise on their sexual performances, and feel entitled to sex when they want it. Well, thank you, God. I have never ran into a sexual narcissist because I can see that going over really bad. A vindictive narcissist. Vindictive narcissists are hypersensitive to disagreements, boundaries being set, rejection, and perceived criticism. They take these experiences personally and are immensely hurt by them, although won't admit to this. In turn, they may respond with attacks and terrorization towards the person they receive as being responsible. Sabotaging somebody's career, sabotaging someone's reputation, or talking bad, gossip, that kind of thing. Malignant narcissism is described those exhibiting symptoms of both MPD and antisocial personality. Combine these two disorders often show up as arrogance, a need for power and recognition, a lack of empathy, a tendency to use or exploit others, and experiencing pleasures in the treatment of others. A covert narcissist, somatic narcissist, a sense of superiority, entitlement, and self-worth from their perception of their physical bodies. Cerebral narcissists, also known as intellectual narcissists, are individuals who fulfill their narcissist supply by being perceived as intelligent, well-read, and expert. Okay, I'm pretty sure we ran into a few of those and didn't know that's what that was, but it's a name for them. This one's a good one. Spiritual narcissist. Spiritual narcissists, a sense of self-worth from both their own faith and their ability to control, manipulate, and influence others. Now, I'm sure that's all I'm going to say on that one. 9 is communal narcissists. Those who possess grandiose, inflated perceptions of themselves within a communal environment. They believe they have extraordinary potential and capability, often thinking of themselves as the best listeners, helpers, socializers, and charitable people on the planet. In reality, they are fairly hypocritical, as most of their focus centers on meeting their own needs. So, as you can see, that basically, even though there are different types of narcissists, it all boils down to the same thing: a grandiose perception of themselves, seeing them better than other people, lack of empathy, just these are gaslighting. These are the type of things that these 9 different types of narcissists have in common. How do you deal with a narcissist? So I think that's it. And obviously that is super important for us to acknowledge, because at some point in time, hopefully not as a spouse or someone you're in a relationship with, but if you are, or, you just you work with one, whatever the case may be, you have to ask yourself, how am I going to deal with this person? How am I going to move day to day dealing with a narcissist? Like, you could say, okay, I'm not going to deal with them. But sometimes there are situations where you don't have any choice. So what are you going to do? Right? So one thing is avoid confrontation, because all it's going to do is hurt you and piss you off arguing with a narcissist, because they're never going to see it your way. And they're going to continue to argue, even if your point is correct. They're going to continue to argue their point and you being wrong. So why would you put yourself, and they're not going to take accountability, whether they're right or wrong. It's their way or the highway. So why would you argue with someone like that when you know there is no end, really? With people like that, there is no end to that discussion. That discussion is going to continue to go on and on and on. No matter how hurt you are, how much you bring facts to the table, whatever the case may be, that is the only way that is going to stop is if you, one, stop, or you, two, give in. Set boundaries. Now, this is something that I have had to learn to do in the last couple of years through therapy, because I didn't have any boundaries, because my goal was to please. I was a people pleaser. Like, I wanted to do whatever I need to do to please everybody else. I was the last one on my list. So I had to learn how to set boundaries, how to say no, for one, and how to say, okay, now this is what happened. If this happens again, these are the actions that I'm going to take, because I have to think of myself first. So boundaries are very, very, very important. Very important. Very important to your mental health. Very important to your peace and your happiness. And just like I said last week, and I've said over and over again, you should be the most important person in your life. I understand we have kids and spouses and parents and siblings and all this other stuff, but we are nothing to anyone else. Like, that's not a cliche. Those are facts. You are nothing to society, to the world, if you're not at your best self. And the only way you can be at your best self is taking care of yourself first. All right. So you have to set boundaries with people. You just can't let people just bogart your space, bogart your peace, bogart your happiness. You just can't, because, we as humans, you give us an inch, we take them out, right? So you just can't. Educate yourself. This goes back to what I said in the beginning. Like, we be on our phones, watching YouTube, all these different things. Why not pull up a YouTube of a podcast where there's a mental health doctor that's talking about these different things? If you have no idea about, you want to learn about it. Anything that you want to learn about, you go out there and you seek that information. We quick to use that Google engine. Just learn about these things. It's never too late to learn about these things and maybe do things just a little bit different. We don't have to stay stuck in, our ways, our people's ways. That's how it's always been done. That was probably one of the phrases that used to drive me crazy. Well, we always did it this way. Well, damn it, that's not smart. Let's do it another way, So educate, especially if you have kids coming behind you, because this is a different type of world that, these kids are different, even from my generation, even from my kids' generation. So you have to educate yourself so you can, sometimes when I be talking to my kids, they'll say something to me and I'm like, huh? And they always go, oh, my, you're acting your age. I'm like, well, I am about to be 50, like some things go across my head. So educate. The next one is, I'm still working on this, but don't take what they say personally, because 9 times out of 10, they don't mean what they say, but they know what they're saying is going to get them what they want. At least that's what their mind is telling them. If I say these things, if I do these things, I'm going to be able to get what I want. They don't care that it hurts your feelings. They have zero empathy. Now, after the fact, granted, because we're human, and God gave us free will, I am sure that every one of these people have a it's me moment where it's just them and they have to deal with their actions and they have to see themselves. Now, if they walk away from that, when they walk away from that me moment, I can't promise you that they're going to do the right thing. Can't promise you that. They may walk away from that me moment and be like, well, I did it now. Let me just go ahead and move to the next thing. Or hopefully, if they get some education, if they get some therapy, they can walk away from that me moment saying, how can I make it better? But 9 times out of 10, they don't mean what they're saying. They're just saying whatever it is that they have to say or have to do to feed that ego or to get them what they want. That's it. Seek out support. Therapy, 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 therapy. Avoid reinforcing narcissist behavior. Now, you say, I know I did. How can you? Because to me, it could be seemed as you're reinforcing bad behavior because, all right, I'll give you a perfect example from my experiences, right? So we currently in my family, we're currently, dealing with something. And we have one family member that talks to everybody else and just stirs up situations, right? So I said to them, I said, listen, don't allow yourselves to be a dumping ground for bad behavior. Well, what am I supposed to do? Nothing. Well, I know what they're saying is wrong. So they're looking at it logically. What they're doing is wrong, and I'm not going to stand by and just let them say or do when I know it's wrong. But the type of person that you're dealing with, they don't care about whether it's right or wrong. They don't care, right? So you telling them, I know that's wrong, and you need to stop saying that, is not going to change how they feel or their end state. They're just going to go harder to get to whatever their end state is. So then the light bulb went off. Well, what am I supposed to do? You're not supposed to do anything. So you think, well, if I'm not doing anything, I'm supporting bad behavior. Well, that's when you have to, sometimes you don't always have to you don't take a knife to a gunfight. So either one or two things is going to happen. Either they're going to leave you alone or they're going to become mad at you. But either or is no worse or no better than what you're getting right now. So you have to find the lesser of the two. You cannot, by stopping engaging, just letting it be, you're no longer reinforcing it. Because when you're going back and forth trying to plead your case, you're reinforcing that bad behavior. So you have to pick and choose what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to do it. You want the person to see that what they're saying and what they're doing is wrong and is hurtful. But you also have to understand that the more you argue it, like I said, it has no end. You're just going to keep arguing. So it's better. So when you keep arguing, you're going to keep reinforcing bad behavior. All right? Because a narcissist gets off on that. They feel empowered. So when you stop, you set that boundary. They could say all they want to. Well, let me call you back. Well, you know what? I got to go. After a while, they're either going to stop engaging with you or they're going to become angry with you. And then you're going to be on the outsides, just like they were mad at the other person. You see what I'm saying? So you have to set your boundaries and you don't argue with them because, again, it's never going to end. And then you don't want to reinforce the bad behavior. Silence is not always agreement, And again, practice self-care because at the end of the day, you have to protect your peace. That's it. You have to protect your peace. Don't let someone be a dumping ground on you for their bad behavior. You know, I know sometimes we might say, oh, they've always been like that, but that doesn't make it right. Oh, that's just how so and so is, but that doesn't make it right. People like that, you have to sit back and wonder, do they not recognize that if you are the problem in all the problems, you're the common denominator? Maybe you need to step back and do a self-evaluation. But then that goes back to, as someone with those behavioral traits, they still have that free will. It's kind of like, well, I done jump off the cliff. I might as well try to fly. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm already here. I might as well keep going. I already threw the rock. Let me just follow it through. It takes a strong person to say, okay, that's not right. Let me try. Let me pull myself back and figure out how I need to help myself to be better. Anybody listening that says that they can just do that now, it took practice. I'm damn near 50, and sometimes once, twice, and then I'm like, okay, now you knew the first time you shouldn't have been doing that, and here you are again. Like you know better. Figure yourself out. It's not always that easy to say, I messed up. I messed up. This is where I am. I need to do better for me. Can you help me? Can you guide me? You have to want to do better for yourself. That means that no other influence around you, like if it's not a positive influence, it's not influencing what you're doing and how you're feeling. A narcissist doesn't always see that. And until they come to that space for themselves and they begin to heal whatever sent them into narcissism, they're going to be out there lost. So, yeah, it is. And honestly, there's not like a cure. There's not like a cure for behavioral disorders. It's not like a medicine you can take. There isn't. They can treat you for anxiety. You high strung, they can calm you down a little bit, but that doesn't change your behavioral traits, because that's what a personality disorder is based off of: behaviors, right? Therapy is pretty much the only thing that's going to help you to change your behavior. And to be intentional about what you're doing, to be intentional about what you want for yourself, to be intentional to be able to do a real self-evaluation and say, you know what? I do understand how I hurt her or how I hurt him, and that wasn't my intent. I know it came out that way. How can I make it better? I am sorry. So, when people don't know how to show empathy, I don't believe that no one has empathy. I just don't. Because when you think about, like, I know everybody watches Law and Order or CSI. And like on CSI, when they have some of these cases and they'll be like, oh, it was somebody that really cared about her, somebody that's close to her or him, because of the way they left the body. That's empathy. Even though I killed you, I still care about you. So I'm going to make sure you covered up, you're not open. And, you understand what I'm saying? They might have raped and strangled you or something, or, whatever, took your life. But at some point, they had a level of empathy that came to them to say, well, I'm not going to leave this person that I care about, even though I murdered them. I want them, have some dignity about themselves. So if someone that just took someone else's life can have just that small amount of empathy, I think that a narcissist has some amount of empathy. They just choose not to move on it. They just choose not to move on it. That's just like saying if you're dating someone, right? And say you're dating someone, right? And the person that you are dating decides that they want to casually talk to other people, hmm? Right? Casually talk to women as if they were single. I'm not saying that, friends and, people that I'm talking like they was out at 7-Eleven, they, met some girl and, they started talking, then they exchanged numbers and then they just chopping it up when you're not around. And then you tell them and say, I feel disrespected because you think it's okay to meet women and then you talking to these women as if you're not in a relationship and they tell you, well, you're just gonna have to get over it because that's just who I am. Who the hell does that? That's narcissistic behavior. This is who I am, this is what I want, this is what's going to happen and you just need to deal with it. No, I don't. So you have to set those boundaries. You have to set the boundaries and say, this is what I am going to deal with. This is what I'm not going to deal with. I'm not going to argue with you. You know how I feel. You know what I think. And so these are my boundaries. That's just it, period. Right? So now let's go into this. Let's go into this because I think this is some real good juju. What causes a person to become a narcissist? It's not, family history of mental health disorders. So basically, I would see that as it's inherited. Like I saw my father act this way. And so I took on those same, I took on those same beliefs, those same traits. Because I don't know what my father was thinking. I don't know what happened to him that made him the way that he is. He did it and it worked for him. So I'm going to do it too. All right. But for the record, exact causes of narcissism, there is no exact causes because again, it's behavioral. It's behavioral and behaviors are learned. Does it take some time to relearn behaviors? Yes. And that's just like saying, how they say about old people, can't teach old dogs new tricks. Now, you want to believe that you can because you want people to be better in who they are. So we do want to teach the old dog a new trick. You understand? So this is another one. This is the one that I brought up earlier that she mentioned because the young man, he did say that he wasn't raised by his mother. His mother passed away when he was just a little orange baby. I want to say that's what he said. And then he said that he was raised by his grandmother and his grandfather. And his grandmother beat up his granddaddy. He saw his grandma beating up his granddaddy. So that says to me, maybe he took on that behavior because he was like, this is not what's going to happen to me. So I'm going to do the opposite of everything that my granddaddy did. I'm going to maintain control of everything. I'm the man. This is how it goes. Or to say, I told you that the therapist said, spoiling your children or not spending enough time with them. Like because they create these behaviors to satisfy their needs. That makes sense. If their need is for attention, sometimes any attention is better than no attention, So genetic changes when, their bodies change or when their bodies change. A lot of risk factors are unpleasant family life during childhood, conduct disorder during childhood. So all of these things play a factor. Just like the young man said, he watched his grandma beat up on his granddaddy. And I would presume as a man, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm going to always take control of my situation. I'm going to always take control of my life. And honestly, one thing that I did admire that he did say was that the first time he saw genuine love from a parent to a child was when he met his wife that he's about to divorce, and she had kids, and he saw her with her kids. He saw her show her children genuine love, and that was the first time that he saw genuine love coming from a parent to a child. Can you imagine what in his mind? And he had children by now. He had a daughter by now, not from his wife at the time, but he had a daughter by now. And it makes you wonder, what was his relationship like with his first daughter's mom, with his daughter? So, these things, and it, I mean, I have to be honest, it made me step back and say, if I only knew, if I only knew, could these things have played a factor in X, Y, Z? But we do the best we can with what we have. But when we have the opportunity to affect change, it's important that we do that. Because even if I'm still on this whole, family traits, behaviors, those kind of things. Even if we don't get it right, and when we realize it's not right, again, it's up to us to do that self-evaluation and change it, so that, because there's always time. As long as God gives you breath to see another day, there's time to do better. If you wake up in the morning, that's your opportunity to be better than you was the day before. So I would think, I know I feel that way. I want to be better daily. I want to be better as a parent. I want to be better as an entrepreneur. I want to be better as an employee. I want to be better as a friend. I want to be better as a daughter. I want to be better, and so I try to do the best I can to affect positive change, because I can think about times when, I wasn't really a nice person, and so you just have to accept, okay, when that empathy falls on you, you have to say, whoa, okay, what do I have to change about me so I can change what I'm putting out into the world, what I'm causing people I love to deal with. Some things, and again, this is from the same website, complications, if untreated or you don't get any therapy to, change your behaviors, because it really is. I can tell you, again, because these are personality disorders, and personality disorders are based off of behaviors, right? And so I can remember when I was diagnosed with anxiety, right? And my therapist, because I would just have these crazy panic attacks, I would have crazy panic attacks. And so my therapist, and it would be thoughts, negative thoughts that would consume my mind, that would send me into these panic attacks. And I would feel like I was having a heart attack, right? And so my therapist, she would make me write down on yellow Post-its. She would ask me, what is a negative thought that you have? And I would tell her, and she'd say, what is a positive thought to counteract that negative thought? So I would have to write the positive thought about myself on that sticky pad. And then she said, every day, put your little 5 sticky pads in your pocket. So when you feel yourself being consumed, take your sticky pads out and read those things aloud about yourself. And yeah, it took more than one time for me to be walking around looking like a clown. Well, I was in uniform. Nobody couldn't see it. But I had these sticky pads, these sticky notes in my pocket because I wanted to combat that negative feeling that would take me into a panic attack. And that's how I changed my behavior of thinking negative thoughts that would, you know, make my mind just be broken. So change behavior can happen. So, if untreated, these are the things that can negatively affect someone that is a narcissist or have some type of uh, personality disorder. Uh, Disturbance in social relationships at home, at school, at work. Like, everybody can't be the problem. You're like, it can't be everybody. You having issues with people at work. You having issues with your family. You having issues with your friends. It can't be everybody. At some point, you got to look and say, is it me? Is it my fault? What am I doing wrong? Why is this happening to me? Is it an easy thing? Hell to the no. Because when you're in that space, to you, it looked like everybody else around you is jacked up because that's how the disorder creates it in your mind. But that's really not the case. And the only way to break it down like that is to get some professional help. Because I can say I had really negative personality traits. I was mean and ornery, and nobody liked me. And I couldn't understand why nobody liked me. I said, well, damn, I'm a nice person. But when asking people, they would say, uh, you better have your P's and Q's, don't go over there tripping with her. She nice, but like I wanted, after a while that started to matter to me. I wanted people first thing to say, oh yeah, Keisha, she's so sweet. Now that's what I wanted to hear. I didn't want to hear, oh, her. Oh yeah. I didn't like that. I didn't like when people did that about me. So what did I have to do? I had to change me. I had to change my approach to dealing with situations. I had to change. That's just like my boss at work. I've known him for some time, right? And we used to joke all the time, but he wasn't always my manager. But now he's my manager, so it's perceived a little different. And so my higher up, he's like a mentor to me. And uh, he said, he thinks you don't like him anymore. And I'm like, what? I love the dude. I mean, it's like, Keisha, you're really mean to him. I'm like, it's just a joke. He was like, but you got to reassure him that that's a joke. So even though I'm still mean to him, but it's in a nice way, it's kind of like I beat him up, then I pick him back up. You know what I'm saying? So it is, you just got to know you have to take approaches different. You have to be more empathetic and be considerate of other people's feelings, because it can't just be about you. It's funny to me, or I'm superior to you, whatever. It just can't always be about you. All right. Depression. This I can tell you to be true. Not that I was a narcissist. I don't think that I was ever a narcissist, but I could be wrong. My behaviors could have been perceived as that from other people. But I can tell you, dealing with my anxiety, yes, I would go into depression. And I think that is, I think with any kind of disorder, mental disorder, mental health disorder, or mental health illness, depression is, piggybacked on it. I just believe that, like, because depression will slip in, is just like a ghost. Like, you don't see it, you don't smell it, you don't hear it, and then pow, it's there. So drug and alcohol use, like, how they say, check on your strong friends. You never know what somebody is going through. Or when you notice someone that they're having a hard time dealing with things, and they start to drink excessively. that is a red flag. I think a lot of times it's really hard for us to ask for help. And so we cope with things. And then a lot of times it's in a negative way. I know right now for me, I can't say that I drink or I club, or I can't even say that I shop anymore. But what I do, not do, but you know what I'm saying. But what I do is I tend to withdraw myself from people because I always feel like what I got going on, I don't want to put it off on anyone else. But why do I feel that way? Do I not trust the people who say they love me? Do I not trust them to handle my emotions and my heart? So I am working on, still not counseling, going places with my friends, or, going on trips or whatever, because I want to change that about myself. So I am, I make a conscious effort, even if I'm going by myself. I make a conscious effort to not withdraw from the world, from the people that love me, or from my support group. So um, it doesn't always have to be drugs, alcohol, maybe you just want to separate yourself from everyone else. And maybe you want to throw yourself into work so then you don't have to deal with all the other things around you. It could be anything. Maybe you, you know, excessively shop, whatever the case may be. But those are things to pay attention to if someone close to you is dealing with some type of behavior issues or personality issues or any mental health issues, period. Mental health illnesses or disorders. And then lastly, which is probably should have been on top, because we all know that all those negative things could lead to, someone thinking that they don't want to live anymore. Um, yeah, when you think about people who have successfully died by suicide, they were all going through something, some type of mental health issue. And whether it was I didn't want to put my burdens on anyone else, or um, you know, it just got the depression got the best of me, or I couldn't see myself being successful, like whatever it was that they were dealing with on their own, um, it took them over the edge, and it ultimately led to their death by suicide. And I think that is a hard thing to deal with. Unfortunately, I had to deal with that. I had a soldier, um, and her husband was abusing her. And they got into a fight one weekend, and I had to go get her from the MP station, from the hospital with the MPs, right? So I had to go get her. So went, got her, brought in the family advocacy, because it was obvious physical abuse. And as the commander, she was my soldier. Her husband was getting out of the army, so he was, on leave or whatever. And so she didn't want to get any help. But as the commander, I could keep her in the barracks for up to 72 hours because I didn't feel safe with her going back there. And I kept her in the barracks for a week. And that Friday came, and her platoon sergeant, now my first sergeant, cornered me in the office, and they was like, I know you don't want to send her home, but you can't keep her here, and we don't want to get you in any trouble. But I can tell you in my gut, I like, with good conscience, I just didn't want to send her home. And so I said, y'all need to have a fail-proof plan. Fail-proof. And so, it briefed well. It sounded good, this person is going to go check at her house physically. I'm going to call this time, this time, this time, and this time. So everybody was engaged. So that was Friday, and I let her go home. And Saturday afternoon, I'm sitting on my couch watching TV, and her squad leader called me and said, ma'am, she's not answering the phone. We can't get in touch with her. So I said, okay, where are you? He said, I'm on my way to her house. I said, you talk to the first sergeant. Call the first sergeant. So I jumped in my car, and her squad leader and he had just got there. I pulled up right behind him, and the police were there. And like literally because now it's a crime scene, and she had died by suicide. And that really was heavy on me, because I had allowed myself to feel like, as their commander, if I could take them to war and bring them back, I should be able to protect them from anything. And I feel like I sent her home into a situation that pushed her over the edge. And, I really couldn't deal with my own emotions, because everyone around me was leaning on me. And so, after about a month, when everything settled down, the chaplain would come and check on me. And the one person that I broke down to that really related to me was my brigade sergeant major. And he came to me, he sat in my office. He said, you can talk to me, because he used to give me shit all the time. And he was like, you can talk to me. And I was like, yes, Sergeant Major, I'm good. And then he started telling me his own story, that his brother had died by suicide. And to know that someone felt the same way I did about someone that they cared about, I just let it all out right there. So do I really think there was something I could have done? No. I mean, it was no way for me to predict that was going to happen. It was no way for me to do anything with her without violating her rights. And you don't want to make somebody feel like they're being punished because somebody is doing something to them. So, that was a very pivotal point in my life. And so from that point on, I am very passionate about therapy and people getting the help that they need, because when people act out of themselves, when they display bad emotional behaviors, there is something wrong, and we cannot take it lightly. Even when, and I would say this, say for instance, someone that's being physically abused or mentally abused, they might not show physical behavioral changes or negative behavioral changes, but there are some different behavioral changes that are going to happen that should make people pay attention. So I brought it all to the table today. I'm laying it all on the table because there is strength in us supporting each other. And I'm not talking about cultures. Cultures as a whole, yes. But I'm talking about the whole pie. I'm talking about the whole vegetable soup. It doesn't matter what your nationality is, what your culture is. If you're in my life or I come across you, we cross paths, it should be important to me that you're mentally healthy. I'm not going to intentionally leave you suffering. Okay. I'm not going to intentionally do something that is going to send you deeper into the abyss of depression and suicide and narcissistic behavior or um, personality disorder. So um, I think it's important for us to pay attention to these things and, most importantly, not to take it personal when someone shows those behaviors, because whatever it is that's making them think that they have to be that person, um, we just have to encourage them to seek the help that they need so they can deal with those issues. I think when and not to sound like a you know old army vet, but I have a good I have a soldier now. Well, he's retired now, but he was my soldier when I was a platoon leader. And at the time um he had OCD, which is a behavioral disorder. And I don't know why he had it. I don't know the history of what happened to him, or what made him become that way. But when I got there, they would laugh at. He was a great soldier, great NCO, took care of his soldiers. You could give him a task. It may take him a long time to get it done, but he got it done. But what irked me was they would sit around and laugh at him instead of saying, how can we help him? This is a great professional. He's already deployed all these many times. How can we help him to deal with whatever it is that's taking him into that abyss of that behavior? And so one day I just took him up under me, and he did great. He's remarried. He's happy. We're Facebook friends. I love to see, when he posts about how happy he is, and love to see him and his wife. And, she's always just basking over how great he is. And to me, that is a great thing. And I'm sure he paid it forward, because that was just the type of person that he was. Like I said, I don't know what might have happened or what he experienced to lead him in that direction, but it did. And all he just needed was somebody to show some concern for him. And then he flourished. So I wanted to put these things on the table, because watching those two kids, and watching the young lady just fall apart, and watching the young man have no empathy, and not even for her, but for himself, no self-respect. Like, it was just sad. It was really, really sad. And I felt it important to use my platform to lay it out all on the table. All right. We can still love people who have bad behavior. We just have to, again, set those boundaries. We have to encourage them to get the help that they need, because we can't do it. No matter, listen, I mean, I'm not shooting down nobody who think that they can do it without some type of um, academia training. Like, you can't. You just can't. I support therapy. I support change behavior. And I just think we need to be advocates for each other and be willing to say, um, hey, what can I do to help you? How can I help you? Because this right here is not right. You can be better than this. And sometimes it takes people to hit rock bottom, not to the point of where they want to do harm to themselves or others. Now, you have to be mindful of that. Don't just let somebody keep falling, and you're not paying attention to their mental demise. And then next thing you know. But again, as human beings, we cannot project that, and we cannot see the future. So we don't know. We can just do the best we can with what we have. But things that we can control, we need to put forth an effort to control. So I am going to get off my soapbox now because this has really hit, just having these talking about these things, and yeah, it just hits a special part for me, and the love that I have for people, and this is how the love that I have for people is generated. This is why I find it hard to like you got to really do something really grimy to me for me to be like, you know what? I ain't fucking with you no more. Like you, bruh, you have to catfish me. Now, if you catfish me, yeah. But you got to do something really, really grimy to me for me to be like, you know what? I ain't fucking with you no more. I ain't like, I don't hate you or nothing like that. But I ain't fucking with you no more. I could see you, be like, what's up? But I'm not fucking with you no more. But I think everything is forgivable because you forgive for yourself, not the other. But I have a heart for people, and I would just want to see people happy. Happiness is about your wellness. There is nothing anyone or anybody can do to fill a void and then you're going to be happy, or to be in your space and then you're going to be happy, or give you a certain amount of money and then you're going to be happy. Happiness is inherited in the responsibility of the individual. So, okay, I'm gonna say this. I'm for real this time. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Next week is gonna be. Next week we're gonna have a guest in the house. One of my really good friends. We have been friends over 20 years. He's going to be here. We're going to have some great dialogue as we get ready to go into Black History Month and the month of love, where we're going to celebrate on Chat and Chew with Miss Keisha, Black love, the good and the bad. All right. So we're going to prepare to go into February with the conversation with Marcus, and we're just going to take it from the point of view of men and women and how we see it. And, what are some lessons that we've learned and we wish we could have done better, or, things that we wish someone would have told us, just where we are right now and where we plan to be. So look forward to that next week, and absolutely look forward to next month. I have some dynamic guests. The boat rights are going to be here. My good friend Jay is going to be here. Like, we're just going to have some amazing people on next month to talk about their challenges within our culture, within love. Just we're going to mash them all together. And like I said, we're going to celebrate love also within our culture. So that's what you have to look forward to in the month of February with Chat and Chew, and just celebrate being here one more again. Running from COVID. Oh yeah, big shout out to my auntie. She got the COVID. I hope you feel better, auntie. But yeah, so having said all that, I just want to give honor to God for just blessing me with the mind and the heart that He has given me. I don't take anything for granted that I've been through, because if I would have known 20 years ago this would be who I am right now, I would have told you was lying. So I'm thankful for my experiences, and I'm thankful for who God has created me to be. I am thankful for this platform. I'm thankful for my studio management and all that they come in and do for me, all the work that they put in to make sure my YouTube channel is set up. And by the way, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I need you to do it. I need you to share my stuff. Don't be a gatekeeper. It's other people out there need to hear me. And I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for all the connections that I've made in this journey of mine on my podcast. And I'm celebrating love because it'll be 1 year next month that I have had my podcast. So I'm super excited about that too. But having said all that, I'm getting ready to go home and watch a little Law and Order and probably fall asleep on it. But my good people, as always, I love you, love yourself, and I see you next weekend. Smooches.